Okay, so now that we have overcome this, the hardest section for me on this fuselage is that we could now proceed on creating this part here, or this part right here, the engine section or the engine nacelle section. So it's the same thing or the same process that we have already done on creating this, creating the construction plane, using the fit point spline, and also adjusting its tangent handles for us to create this surface or this section right here. Let me just switch tabs so that I could show you. So right here, I have just created a few sketches to, let me hide the canvas, so a few sketches to create this surface right here. So don't worry, since again I've told you this is the hardest part in creating on the fuselage. This would be so much easier to create this shape right here. So let us proceed. So again, I'll start by creating under construction tool, an offset plane again. And then I'll select the front face, move it here. I'll go at the top view, and then just align it right here. Right here. And then OK. OK once you're done. As I have mentioned, the plane is really isn't hidden, it's really visible. It is just that it's really small, so it's right here. Just to make it bigger or much more visible, so I'll manipulate this to even make this bigger. So I'll hover around this edge and then select and then drag it just right here. Same method, so at the top view, so hover, select, and then drag here. So that's much better. It is much more visible. So we can now create the first sketch for our front canvas right here. I'll select this plane here, create a sketch, and then let me hide the bodies. So these bodies, I don't need them yet. So 1, 2, 3. Let's create a circle. So select the circle tool from the sketch palette. Under feature options, that would be 2-point circle. So first point would be here, second point would be here. Press escape once you're done. So again, I'm just trying to create the sketch so that I could align it or trace the outline of the engine section right around here. And I'm happy with this. If you're for example you're not happy with this, you could always adjust the shape or the circle so that you could align it perfectly. But for me, this is quite okay. So let us proceed on creating a line here from the center point of the circle that we have just created. The second is right here. Press check or escape on my keyboard once done on using the tool. And then I'll go here at the modify tab here. I'll select the extend tool. I'll just extend the line here. And then I'll trim the excess line here. There we go. So press escape once done. And then we'll convert again this line into a construction line. So line type is gonna be construction line. Now what we just have to do is mirror this circle right here. First, we'll be creating again a line. This would serve as a reference for our mirror line. I'll select or I'll create the first point here at the origin point, so 1 and then 2. Then hit escape or check mark right here once done. So this line doesn't need to be, or doesn't the line doesn't have a specific value, so it could be shorter or longer, doesn't matter. This would only serve as a mirror line tool. So now let us proceed on using the mirror tool. So I'll use this, so mirror. Select the objects. The objects that we're gonna be mirroring is this circle right here, this construction line right here, and then we could select the mirror line. So this would be the mirror line, so here, and then press OK. It's done. I'll select this and then hit delete on my keyboard. I don't need this anymore, so there you go. Then I'll create another line here. For first point would be here, so 1 and then 2, and then again, so here, so 1 and then 2. Press escape on my keyboard once done, and then I'll trim the curve, the inside curve of the circle right here. So again, using the trim tool, trim this curve right here, and then trim this curve right here. Press escape on your keyboard once done. So there we have it. The front sketch of the engine section is already done. I'll just finish the sketch here, and now we could proceed on creating the top sketch. So again, if you'd like, you could also offset a plane or create a plane at an angle, but for me, I'd like to stay efficient or maximize the use of an existing plane that we have already created. So if you would still remember, for me that's gonna be plane 5. We have already created this sketch right here. So I'll be just using this one to create the top sketch for the top canvas right here. So once again, I'll just select this plane right here, create again a sketch, and then I do need to project the 3D body, the first 3D body that we have created. So again, here on the bodies, so I'll select this, the first body that we have created. So this is going to be the first body, and then P on your keyboard, press P on your keyboard, or here under create tab, project, and then project here, and then selection filter should be selected as bodies. That's okay, and then we'll select this body right here. Press OK once done. There we have it. I don't need the body again, so I'll just hide it. Then I'll just clean this up, and then we'll create a project intersect point right here. So I have already teached you how to use the project intersect. So again, it would project a point from this curve right here, since that this plane is intersecting right around here. So let me just hide the plane 5, then under create tool, use the project intersect tool, so intersect, so right here. Press OK once done, and now we could proceed on creating using the feed point spline. So here, our first point would be this point here, 1 and then 2. Let's check on your keyboard once done, and hit escape to exit the tool. And then let us switch to the top view, and then same as putting again 2 constraints here at these tangent handles right here. So I'll select this constraint here, the horizontal or vertical constraint. I'll select this tangent handle right here, and then I'll select the second tangent handle right here. There we have it. So press escape on your keyboard once done, and then you could adjust the tangent handles to get the the approximate shape or the approximate outline of the canvas right here. So right now I am currently happy with this. So don't you worry about this one, since it doesn't really get as much as close as to the outline right here, since we are also referencing the image at this portion right here, or the front view. So I wouldn't mind fixing this or getting this aligned, so that's okay. So like I've said, it's always a trial and error. So if for example you're not happy with this, you could always adjust. For me, if you are not happy with this, I would adjust the sketch right here at the first sketch of the engine, or the engine section. But since I'm okay with this, I'll just leave it as it is. And also, I didn't. You would notice that I haven't even adjusted the tangent handle, so I'm quite happy with this. So if you'd like, you could always move this to get the approximate shape of this outline right here. So what I just need to do is mirror this line, or the fit point spline that we have created. So to do that, I'll just be creating a line again. So from the origin point here, and then I'll just make sure that it's perfectly horizontal there. And press this check mark once done. Escape. Again, using the mirror tool, select the mirror tool. The objects tool, mirror is this, so 1, and then the mirror line will be this. Press OK once done. There we have it. So we now have the front sketch of the engine and also the top sketch for the engine. I'll finish the sketch once we are done. Okay, now we are ready to create the 3D body or the 3D surface right here. So what I just need to do is unhide the first body that we have created. So unhide, let us unhide this. Then again, at the surface, under create, we'll be using the loft tool. And then the profiles tool, the first profile would be this profile, second would be this. So I'll select these outlines. Here we have it. And then again, we'll be putting rails here. So rails. So first rail, and then the second rail. There we have it. And again, I'm always saying that I always want I'm doing things redundantly because I want them to be perfect, or they would appear flawless when looking at the body. So the transition the transition of the body, you wouldn't even notice that it is created from multiple sketches. So we already know that this is already tangent to this line, but I just want to make sure. So again, here at the profile, I'll select this, and then just make sure that this is selected to tangent. And then hit OK once done. I'll hide again the canvas. Oh, sorry. So I won't hide first the canvas, so let me unhide it again. And then just visually inspect it here. So that's okay. How about the front view? Like I've mentioned, that it is always a best practice to, once you're always creating a body, is you would inspect it at its individual canvases. So I started from the top canvas and I find it okay. Second would be inspecting it at the front canvas, and I also find it okay inspecting the third canvas, which would be the side canvas. So I find it also okay for me. Let me just unhide all the bodies. I'll unhide the canvas, or I'm sorry, I'll hide the canvas. Then let us switch to the visual style again. shaded view. Sorry. Let's hide canvas. Okay, there you go. So let's just inspect it, and then there we have it. You would see again that the body is perfectly, or the transition is so smooth that you wouldn't even notice that it is created from a different sketch. Now we could proceed at the last portion of the fuselage, which is the tail section of the aircraft. And what we are left off now is this section right here, or the tail section. And don't worry, this part right here is gonna be the easiest part to make, and let me just show you how I did it here. Let me just hide this. Okay, so you might have noticed that I have already the parts, or the other parts of the aircraft, so that would be on the next videos. So I have been working on the aircraft while I'm not still recording, so that I could review them and show you the process. So anyway, let's get back. So how I did the the tail section is, it's just made out of few sketches here, so and here, and also a construction plane just right here. So we would still be doing the the methods that we have already used and that we already know. So let us proceed here. So again, for the first thing that we need to do is create a sketch here. So I'll create a sketch. I'll select this plane, and then I'll project again this 3D body right here. So I'll press P on my keyboard. I'll making sure that selection filter is set to bodies, and then we will select this body right here and press OK. Now we could trace this outline of the canvas right here. So again, we'll be using the feed point spline, and our first point will be here. So 1, and then 2. After that, select the check mark right here, and then we could proceed on putting a constraint here. So again, from the previous sketches that we have already made, so we'll just select the horizontal or vertical constraint. So I'll select this constraint here, and then I'll apply it here at this tangent angle. Here we go. And just by looking at it, the sketch or the feed point spline turned out pretty nice, and it is approximately or currently close to the outline of this canvas. So for me, I wouldn't anymore adjust this tangent handle right here, and I could just proceed on the next feed point spline that we're going to be making here. Before that, I'd like to create a construction line again, so I'll select the line tool. First point will be here, and second point, doesn't matter where you would end the second point, so I'll just end it right here. So press check mark after you are done, then hit escape after using the tool, and then we'll convert this line into a construction line. Okay, before I proceed on creating the second sketch here for us to complete the side profile of the tail section, I'd like to explain something first. So as you can see here, I'm pretty sure that if you would create this feed point spline here, you would trace this outline right here. But for me, I wouldn't do that, and you might be wondering why. So as you can see here, the tail section has this shape right here. So I have searched it already, and this is called the tail ECM equipment bay. So here it is. I'm sorry. So let me just get back here again from the model that I have already have, and let us toggle the canvases on. So what I did here is I created the sketch, or the top sketch right here, and then I didn't follow the outline right here. Because after this, and then we proceeded on creating the tail ACM equipment bay, you would notice that after you have created this would follow the outline right here. So for me, I'll just, since this doesn't have the top portion of this tail section isn't really visible, I just did guessing the on how I would create, or estimation on how I would draw the outline right here. So there would be instances in the future, for example after this lesson, that you would encounter a specific aircraft where the outline of it isn't really visible, and you really need to estimate on how you would create or finish the sketch for that body. So it's a matter of trial and error, and then just to make sure that, or yeah, it's the process of trying, and then if it doesn't fit, you must retry it again so that you could get the approximate shape at the real, or the approximate shape of this section right here. So for me, yes, it did take me quite a while so that I could get the proper shape of this. But okay, let me just proceed and enough talking so that we could see this. So again, I'll create a fit point spline here. And then like I've told you, I wouldn't follow this outline right here, so I would go like this. Instead, I'll create the first point here. And then I'll create the second point just right here. Press escape after you're done. And what I have created here is that the fit point spline that I have created is kind of sloping, or from here it slopes downward up until here. I would still apply the constraint right here at this tangent handle. So horizontal, and then I'll apply it. And then press escape. And then I'll try to manipulate this tangent handle right here. So I would just make a slight curvature on this section right here, or at this portion of this tail section right here. So I'll select this point here, I'll press M on my keyboard, and then I'll just create a slight curvature from here. And then after that, I could trim this excess line right here. There we go. So right now, we are now finished at the side sketches for the side profile of this canvas right here. So again, since we couldn't really see the portion here, this is just an estimation, and pretty sure if you're gonna be making, after this lesson, if you're gonna be making a different plane, there you would encounter some planes that the section isn't really quite visible. But don't you worry, sometimes there are blueprints that has detailed cross sections. For example, because since I've used the basic blueprint right here, some models have already sections where, for example, where the top edge of the fuselage and where the bottom edge is. So those are more detailed blueprints. I'm sure you would encounter some of them, and if I'm not mistaken, they do have a price as well on them, so you need to buy them. But for us, like I've showed you on the earlier videos, is that we have just selected a basic blueprint. Although it's a basic blueprint, it still is the silhouette of the body of the aircraft is still there. So from here, since you have chosen this aircraft, actually this is a good example as well, because this is my style when I do not my blueprints are not that detailed. I do usually just have an estimation on how I would create a specific body. So yeah, so I'm sorry if I have discussed or I have taken so much time here, but like I've told you, this is gonna the tail section is gonna be the easiest part of this. Okay, so let's finish here. So we're done here at the side sketch. We could proceed on. Let me just hide the canvas here. We could proceed on creating a plane at an angle at this line. So I'll select this line. Sorry. So and then under construct, I'll create a plane at an angle. Then the plane is already at the correct angle, so no need to rotate this. I'll just hit OK. Then I'll select this plane and then create again a sketch. And then let me just hide the body first. I don't need them yet. I'll project this line. So I'll press P on my keyboard. Of course, since this is a 2D sketch only, our selection filter should be set to specified entities only. Select this line right here and press OK once done. Let me just hide the sketch, so this sketch right here, so that's sketch 13. So hide it first, and then I'll try to find the midpoint of this line right here. Again, under create, I'll select point, and then I'll try to find the midpoint. So there we go. I know that it's midpoint because the crosshair, or this X mark right here, has a triangle beside it. So that's the midpoint of the line, and then I'll hit escape so that I could exit the point. Let me just on the V cube I'll set it as back view, and then I'll create a line from this midpoint that we have created. I'll press check mark again once we are done. Hit escape to exit the tool, and then I'll adjust this so that I could create an ellipse. So let me just turn on the canvas here. So I'll go here, and then I'll I'll select this point right here and then drag the line right about here. So I'm tracing this, since this is the tail section, or the end tail, or yes, the end of the outline for the tail section. I'm trying to trace it here. So don't worry, you might have noticed that the blueprint is not perfectly aligned. There is like a huge gap, because if we have, or if you look here, this is for the side canvas, this is the end of the tail section, and on the top canvas you could see that the end of the tail section is just right around here. So there's a huge gap, but don't you worry, that's okay. So you wouldn't really get the canvas perfectly, how would say this, perfectly aligned to at the different canvases. What's important is that you're just making sure that what I like to do is just make sure that other parts of this, like for example, we have already created some of the bodies, is that they are perfectly aligned. So you see this section right here, which we have created, the cockpit section, and looking by at the top view and the side view, is that it is not perfectly aligned, but they are closely or approximately aligned. So let me just hide the bodies again. So yeah, so here we go. As soon as we have adjusted this length we have created, we could now create the ellipse. So just hide the canvas right here. I'll select the ellipse tool, select the midpoint, second point, and the third one. Hit escape once done, and I'll just convert the lines that we have created into construction lines. So select this construction line and also this construction line. Okay, it's already a construction line. And then I'll finish the sketch. And then we could open the bodies now, and then we'll just use the loft tool use the loft tool here. Profile 1 will be here. Profile 2 would be this. And then again, we need to add the rails. So first rail will be this one. Second rail will be this one. Again, for redundancy, I know that this is already tangent to this line right here. But just really want to make sure that they are all tangent. So like I said, going here again at the profile 1, I'll select this drop down right here, just making sure that this is also tangent. Before I, okay, so I'll just hit OK, I'm sorry, and then let me go here at the canvas. So there you go. Again, like I told you, a good method always is, but when you have already finished creating the 3D body, you always need to check it at the different canvases. So again, here at the top canvas, I'm happy here. At the side canvas, this is also good here. And front canvas doesn't really make any sense, so that's okay. And then we could just hide the canvas, and then we could switch to the shaded view, and then just inspecting it. For me here, inspecting this, again, just make sure that you wouldn't even notice that this is created from multiple bodies or multiple sketches. So here, the transition is perfectly smooth here as well, and there as well. So there you go. And now we are finished on the fuselage part of the aircraft. If you would look at here from the body that I've already created, it's similar as already. So there you go. Don't worry, I'll be sending already the file on this. Yes, this file of this, and then we'll be proceeding on creating the wings. And then after the wings, we'll proceed on creating the tail cone, EZM equipment. So don't worry. This is already we are already done with the hardest parts of the body. This components right here that are left with are gonna be easier than this. For me, on this aircraft, this particular aircraft, if you have chosen, the most complicated part is this section right here. Don't worry, I have already taught you these steps on how to create this, so I hope that you would get the techniques. Don't worry, I'm always open, or I'll be still guiding you if you have any questions, or if I have some things that I have explained not clear. So if it confuses you, so I'll be here to always guide you. And then before I close this chapter right here, or the fuselage part, what I'd like to do is create again. Let me just change the visual style. So I always like to put it to the default visual style, so that I could just see the different parts of the body. And then we could now organize this into one component. So all of the sketches, the construction planes, and the bodies will be grouped together into their specific components. So here I'll select this, and then right click on this one, and I'll select new component. You could leave it as activated, but for me I'll not activate this. I'll just manually activate it here. And then let's just name this fuselage. Hit OK once you are done. Right now there are no sketches, construction planes, and the body that is in or under this component. So what we just have to do is, for me, here's one technique again. So let me just check here. Okay, so we started creating the bodies from sketch 4 up until sketch 14. And then let me unhide this. So the technique here is, if I would select it here from here, and then just drag and move it here under this fuselage, you would see that automatically, since the 3D bodies and the construction planes are related to the sketches that we have made, it automatically detects that once we have moved the sketches where we have created the bodies, we'll also automatically move the bodies and the construction planes related to it under the fuselage section. Let me just give another example. So let me undo that. So again, for example, if I just move the bodies one by one, it wouldn't really move the... So you see, only the bodies are only moved under the fuselage section, and I don't want that. So what I want to do is just select the sketches. So we know for sure that we have started from sketch 4. So the other 3 sketches were only just a calibration for canvases, so we don't need them. We only need to move the sketch 4 up until sketch 14. By the way, I'm doing this by selecting first the sketch 4, so left click on my mouse, and then pressing and holding shift on my keyboard, and then selecting to sketch 14. So it's while I'm pressing the shift, it's doing so that you wouldn't have to click this manually, so you didn't have to select sketch 4 and then control sketch 5, sketch 6. So the shortcut is from sketch 4, press and hold shift on your keyboard, and then press sketch 14. So it would highlight all these sketches between sketch 4 to sketch 14. And then what you just have to do after these sketches have been selected is you just need to drag, select and drag here, fuselage. There you go. And then, like I've told you, sketches, since the bodies and the construction planes are made in these sketches, all of them are also moved to the fuselage section. So you can see here the sketches, the construction planes and the sketches and the bodies are already here. So there you go. I hope that this video is quite knowledgeable, or you have learned some new tips or techniques. And well, I'm gonna be honest that some might be confusing. So especially when I'm trying to explain some things, if you could always drop me a message, or you could always PM me, so that I could help you if there is some parts where you couldn't understand the things that I'm saying or what I'm trying to teach here on these videos. And then also I'll be proceeding on creating the wings, so that's to be expected. Don't worry, the wings is gonna be much more easier compared to this. So now we have cleared the very hard part of the aircraft, which is actually this, the cockpit section. And I'll be seeing you on the next video, which is gonna be the wing section.